Welcome to the most electrifying channel in all entertainment. It's your boy PK. I'm here with my brother GRG brother Six Slayer. We're here to talk about today's event, which is the new level up cards from NVIDIA.
Ooh,
How you
boy.
doing there, Six?
Real excited, man. I was blown away more than I was expecting, and I thought I had a pretty accurate expectation of what was to come. But one fact really is just blowing my mind. I really didn't expect this level.
Oh, is that quite sure? I think you was pretty anticipating this arrival of this next
Oh yeah,
gen
indeed I
series.
was. Indeed I was. But the level of performance that they're providing is beyond even my expectation based on the regular leaks that were coming out that were mostly accurate. But even then it doesn't explain this level of performance. But wow, we'll get into that.
Well, I'm definitely excited for the next gen coming for sure, and I'm looking at the stats, and then even though on paper everything looks amazing, what it really comes down to is what happens on performance when it's actually doing things.
Right. This is true. And if you noticed, shout out to J2 Cents, who was one of the first that I've seen who mentioned this, but wasn't the only. They didn't really show any frame numbers for games. Digital Foundry has a card, and they weren't allowed to show frame numbers for games, so they showed relative performance in terms of percentages. I think J2 Cents did similarly. No, he didn't. But I think he referenced the Digital Foundry video. Yeah, which is basically to say there's a lot of performance here, clearly, but we can't get actual numbers, but we can infer some things from what we did find out.
Right, and well, they did go over some stats here on the show actually, so we did get a lot of inner workings on how they came up with this technology and how they're pushing it forward. And they're pretty excited and proud of the work that they did. And overall, from a surface and a high level, it does look great.
Right. From the high level surface, we still have to see actual numbers, actual frame numbers, things like that. But from what we're seeing so far, this is what's blowing me away as they advertise, and it does. These early numbers don't seem to jive with it. That this is the biggest generation leap ever from Nvidia, and I'm pretty sure from the many years I've been following Nvidia that this is pretty accurate from the numbers we've seen so far.
Yep, and welcome. One of our GRG brothers is just show up. Bloody Nux, how you doing, bro?
Hey, how's it going? What's going on, brother?
Glad that you made it, and we didn't really get too far. And here's another one of our brothers. Here it is. 108 Dragons has just appeared. The Dragon Master.
I know you didn't start this without me. I know this podcast is not started.
Nah, it's not started until you got here, brother. We was just doing preliminaries.
Preliminaries.
That's right. We just get people warmed up until you got here. I'm glad you guys showed up. And how you guys doing? How you guys feel about this presentation today? I'll start with 108 since he just came in.
I'm excited. I'm about to make that little $800 purchase or $700 purchase.
So you're getting the
380.
The 3080. Right.
Yeah, no doubt.
Gotcha.
No doubt.
What about you, Bloody? How you feel about this presentation so far?
The presentation was pretty cool. I was like, but just hearing the stats and what the capabilities of all these new graphics cards are going to do is actually what was really exciting about it. I thought it was kind of funny the way that they were doing the little showcase, but just kind of seeing everything and hearing it talked about from an engineering standpoint is pretty badass.
Yeah, so me and Sick was talking about it. We touched on it a little bit. What I would like to do is kind of get your idea on what do you think this is going to do for gaming going forward, just on this presentation.
I mean, with the way that they have gaming going forward is obviously they've been pushing, or they're really trying to push the capabilities of ray tracing and a lot of what that's going to do for hardware acceleration and a lot of visual fidelity. They're going to really obviously push for higher frame rates. They want to really, this is going to make higher frame rates more of a viability now but also with having those higher end settings that a lot of people want, because they want to make sure that they're able to have that steady high frame rate to go with all those high end monitors that have those variable refresh rates and higher hertz to be able to handle those frames, right? But now you're going to actually have the visual fidelity of the settings and actually being able to output at like more steady 4K resolutions and 2K resolutions. And now they're obviously trying to tout and push for 8K, which we hear everyone's talking about 8K capable or 8K ready. And now we're starting to see that there's a lot of the hardware companies are like starting to make that push towards that. Now it's still mainly for their high end early adopters, but you can see where the natural transition of everything's going to be going towards.
What about you, Sick? How do you feel about their stride to break these barriers? Sick's not there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was muted. You know, as you speak of breaking barriers, but as barriers are being broken, new ones are being erected, and so check it out. So yeah, they're doing not only, you know, the technology physically has improved performance wise, but they're also intelligent with how they use that performance to attain even greater heights in terms of frame rate, performance, things like that. But now comes with that, because, you know, AMD has been talking about these same technologies that we see in Nvidia's new release here as well. So when AMD comes out with Big Navi, there's going to be a new delineation now, a new line with, you know, alongside the new next gen consoles, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, and these new cards from Nvidia and AMD both. There's a new line that's been set in the sand, and if you're not across this line, you're with the old and busted, not the new hotness.
What do you think these cards represent for gaming today? Like, do we really need ray tracing on Fortnite, or what games do you think would benefit from the power of these cards?
It's the next step. It's the next step in game development and lighting, and being able to get better ambient and inclusion. So it's the next step. And I know a lot of people. We was on Twitter and they keep talking about the 3090 and the 3080. Those are not the cars that's going to sell, man.
It's going to be that 3070.
It's the 3070 and below. And below. Don't
yeah.
forget, they'll be dropping the 50s and the 60s. Those are their money makers, because the 70 series ain't their money maker either.
That's right.
This is the thing. Everybody can talk these numbers, right? And it sounds good, but the real revolutionary graphic card out of the whole series is the 70. It is not the 80 and the 90.
He's right about that. It's a new.
Okay, I'm going to explain.
Let's back up, because I need him to elaborate a little bit.
All right. Being that the 3070 is at least as powerful as the 2080 Ti, that brings a $500 card with huge processing power, right? Huge, at a medium price. Huge. AMD don't have nothing to do with that. They don't even have a high-end graphic card. They deal everything, you know, medium and down. You know what I'm saying? And to even hear the 3070 could even compete with a 2080 Ti at $1,200 for $500. You get what I'm saying? That is the breaking point of bringing more gamers into the realm of being a high-end PC gamer. Because, like I said, the 3080 is a great card, and the 3090 is a great card, but those are not the cards that's going to hit the masses. So you got those $300 and $400 guys saying, maybe I'll save $200 more and get some 20 Ti power. You get what I'm saying? That's the revolutionary card announced today. It's really not the other two. The other two is not that. Like, shout out to Jay's 2 cents. I was watching. He was like, those are the people that pop champagne, that play games. Facts. You know what I'm saying? The majority don't spend that kind of money for graphic cards. And most people who will spend that money, or who can, and they go upgrade, you just can't buy that graphic card and you ain't got nothing to match. It'll cause a bottleneck.
I feel that.
You gotta stay within your realm. You can't have DDR4 running at 2.6 and an i5 and think that graphic card gonna save your life. No, it's gonna make your life miserable. because your PC can't handle that. So you got to have a balance across the board. So just buying a graphic card is not feasible for anybody who knows about gaming. But that magic card is the 3070 with that processing power. That's ridiculous. I just got to see when it comes out when they compare the two, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's what we want. We want real world benchmarks. So did you have a comment on what 108 mentioned here, Sick?
Yeah. Another reason what he's saying is so true is because it's that balance of price to performance, which is, key to this whole line. Even the 3090, J2 Cents also said, shout out to him again, while the price may be higher than what it's replacing, the 2080 Ti, you gotta think of it more like a Titan RTX. That's what it is. It's doing more per dollar, even at a higher price than the 2080 Ti, because it's not really the 2080 Ti replacement. It's really the Titan RTX replacement, and it's doing so much more. If you're prosumer, okay, you're doing more than your average, even high level guy like myself or Lemon here. Okay, you have to be like our boy, the developer. Geez, help me out. His name escapes me at the moment. Oh my God, nobody can help out. All right, the Don. There we go. He could use cards like that, but ourselves, no, we would have to find uses. But then Nvidia is also providing those uses. A lot of new software features as well.
So, I'm gonna ask you, Bloody. How do you feel about this line of cards affecting our current games? I'm not sure if I care about ray tracing on Fortnite, but what do you think? What game would benefit the most from the power of these cards here?
I mean, look at games that are already trying to implement it or were already in the midst of implementing it. I was like, look at what we had with Red Dead Redemption 2. We had games like Cyberpunk 2077, which are going to be staples for that, and a lot of what we're seeing with Watch Dogs Legion, with that new game, with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and a lot of these other games are going to be start pushing out come the start of the next generation of console gaming, which is also going to help kind of push that, because we see that a lot of these consoles or these next gen consoles are going to try and push ray tracing and things like that. So now you're going to start seeing those games that are going to come with it. Even look at what they showed off with the tease from Call of Duty Black Ops, right? With Cold War. That is showing that these lighting effects and the ambient occlusion with everything that's going to be included with the visuals from what ray tracing can do, that there's already games that are coming out within the next few months that can absolutely take precedent of that. Yeah, well, cool. Fortnite's going to get it. Fortnite isn't a graphically demanding game, but guess what? You can make anything prettier by doing a lot of things like that. Look at what we got with the showcase when they did the Series X reveal and the teardown with Digital Foundry and what's his name, Austin
Evans.
Yeah, Austin Evans, right? They showed off what Minecraft looks like with ray tracing, and you can see a night and day difference of just what something like that is capable of doing for a game that is nowhere near graphically demanding compared to other games that are coming out. But add that with the fact that they have now 4K textures, they added in something like ray tracing, just seeing how much of a difference that can make for a game like that. Obviously, something like Fortnite can make absolute use of something like ray tracing with it. But there's other big games that are coming out too that are absolutely going to push what ray tracing is going to be capable of with those cards.
I like to ask Sick to explain what DLSS is and how does that benefit NVIDIA in pushing their product out over.
DLSS is AI technique. I forget what D stands for. What the letter
deep
D
learning.
is. Deep learning super sampling. So, okay, super sampling.
Xbox Series X.
Exactly. You'll see that in the Xbox Series X. We'll be doing this technique in a different form, but also very similar and pretty much the same way.
As
this
he
is
said
AI.
it himself.
This
Except
is
I
AI.
think they call it machine learning.
Machine learning. Okay, deep learning super sampling. This is called machine learning, and on the Xbox you'll see it marked as machine learning. But basically, this is the same thing that Nvidia many others have been pioneering in the past couple of years, you know, this AI deep learning thing, where basically you take images, you know, you toss them at a server and you make it look at and process those images over and over and over, and then there's many uses to that. You know, smart cards that can drive themselves and other things. But what Nvidia is using it for is for rendering. So, you know, it's tough enough to render a game even without ray tracing. Once you add ray tracing on, now it's a tax on performance, right? And so, and everybody wants high resolution, high frame rate with ray tracing. What do? You start being smart. And it's what I was talking about before about intelligent rendering. Not just you attain massive amounts of rendering power, but how do you use it effectively, efficiently? And this is what DLSS does, where it can render the game internally at a lower resolution. And with this AI super sampling, being able to upscale it to true 4K or beyond, and look almost as good as if it was natively rendered at that resolution, and thus saving horsepower.
Actually, actually the picture is better than native.
Yeah, well, depending on how it's done, it can be better than native, and the developers can, do the training themselves. So when this information is put into the driver, it's very accurate because they can specifically tweak what the AI has learned to make sure it's learning the right lessons. To put it in simple terms, so the texture will look, yeah, indeed, possibly even better. The whole picture, not just the texture, can look even better potentially, and that saves a lot of horsepower when it comes to rendering. Bring down your rendering time, increase your frame rates. Respend that savings to do other things. So a game that might have been 30 frames a second, now you can bump it up to 60. And as we've seen with Death Stranding, even on the 2060 Super, was able to run it full fat 4K 60. Because of all the savings that DLSS provided. And this is a big increase from when DLSS was first introduced with the 20 series, the original RTX cards. So not only have they improved their AI technique, which has nothing to do with the hardware, the tensor cores are also much faster now, so they can execute that even faster. How that's those two things combined, and make for a massive jump improvement in performance, which is what I've been saying before about intelligent rendering.
And just to give an idea, this word is just their term. There's lots of different obviously it's going to be an Xbox
definition, right?
It's
right.
It's just machine learning on its core, and that is the new technology moving forward, is using machine learning to vastly improve and make things move faster depending on the application.
It's basically tomatoes and tomatoes.
Absolutely. You will see
everybody just naming it something different, but it's all the same procedure.
Yep,
the thing is, it is exciting because they're applying this method to gaming and moving the processing rate over it. Being able to get the picture that we want in an efficient way, right? These are probably the most efficient cards we've ever seen, and they're not only faster and more powerful, but they're super efficient, and that's what's really surprising, that they're able to turn all that out and still per watt do more processing speed than their previous gen. Yeah, you had a comment there, 108.
No, I was yelling I wasn't yelling, but I was trying to mute my mic, but I muted it, pressed it twice, was telling him to get out of here because he was bothering me. But it's like, some people out here, man, you still gonna have to have these screens to take advantage of this stuff, man. There's gonna be a whole upgrade generation for everybody.
Yeah, not just screens, CPU, RAM, all of that.
No, I'm just talking about on the screen side. Forget everything else.
Step one. Yeah.
You gotta have a TV or monitor that can process all these wonderful features that they're bringing to the table. It's not just about these cards and what the developer going to do, because let's just be real here. You got top tier developers, mid tier, and lower end developers, right? People like Project CD Red, they going balls to the wall with their graphics. You understand what I'm saying?
So you're saying
They're
that
gonna take
that
advantage.
game will take advantage of
Oh
this?
hell yeah, no doubt, no doubt. They're a top tier developer. They're going to just look at 2015. I had bought a 980 Ti, no 980. It came with The Witcher. I was playing that game in 4K because I had a powerful enough PC to run it in 4K in 2015. The visuals in that game alone, just with the higher res textures, not 4K textures, higher res textures, the geometry of the maps, the design of the characters, the animation in the horse's hair. You had to turn that on, by the way. That's called Nvidia's Telsa something it was called. And you had to have a PC that can handle that to even cut the for them hair motions to be even, effective and look so beautiful. So even back then, that type of developer takes advantage of the hardware. Let's go into Star Wars Battlefront. Did you ever really look at that game? That game is absolutely stunning. All that stuff going on screen, all the sound effects.
That whole engine by
Yo,
default, everything that runs on that engine.
Frostbite is crazy. But look at what they did this gen with that old technique. Imagine what they're going to do now. And now they're not taking advantage of just your console or your graphic card. Now you're going to have TVs that have to match these monitors.
Facts. And while you're talking about that, I mentioned, I think I was talking to Bloody about this, but you definitely need a 8K HDMI cord or a 2.0 was it the connector to the monitor? I forget the name of it.
HDMI 2.1.
Yeah, display port. You need a 2.0
That's gonna
display,
be rough. That's gonna be rough.
or you need a 8K HDMI cord, not because you're trying to do something 8K,
No,
but because it's the only cord that will give you the throughput.
Yep.
That will be able to transfer the data to your monitor quick enough for you to see the picture. I mean, of course, those who have a monitor that can use lightning ports, you guys are blessed and you can use that all day. But I'm saying in particular, most people have HDMI or display ports. So you definitely need to have the upgraded IO or N cords to be able to do this. You can't just plug any old display port or any old HDMI cord. It won't work that way. You definitely need to upgrade that as well.
I mean, like the reason I'm really looking into the 380 because I could buy the 370 and be completely happy. But the motherboard that I just copped and putting in my PC this week, it's like the IO throughput is just stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just sucking up bandwidth, and it's great for streaming. Like I could be able to stream and have no issues and never hiccup. You know what I'm saying? As long as I got the bandwidth in terms of my internet. But I was just reading that and then listening to these graphic cards with their IO3 throughput is just, my God, it's really you have to, if you want to be that type of gamer, you're gonna have to really step your game up because you ain't gonna be able to cut corners and say, yeah, I'm gonna get an i5 or Ryzen, whatever, and then I'm gonna get this graphic card. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. So it's definitely gonna be costly. It's not going to be no games out here because everybody want to talk about power. With power comes great pockets. So that's what I'm saying, man. I'm just looking at it like, damn.
So one of the things that they showed in this presentation was 8K gaming, and I want to ask you, Bloody, do you think that that's a real thing right now? Do you think that's just something that they're flexing? Hey, I could do, but it's not a realistic kind of thing for gaming right now.
I mean, here's the thing about it, right? It exists. I mean, there's 8K monitors, very few, and then you have like Samsung, who's already has 8K televisions. There are definitely manufacturers that are ready for it. It was just, is the hardware there to support it, as well as there going to be software? We know a lot of these companies and manufacturers are trying to get 8K ready. Is it going to be ready for the masses? No, absolutely not. There's nothing out there right now that for the masses and consumer wise is going to be 8K ready. I was like, however, you can, if you're an early adapter and you got the pockets to drop for it, you can absolutely make sure that when that is available openly to the masses and more readily there, you're already be prepared. But the thing is, right now, there is no reason, if you don't have an 8K TV, which is several $1,000s, all right, that's on top of the fact that you have to buy a graphics card that's $1,500. So those two alone is already going to set you back quite a few grand. And then everything else that you're going to have to put into that to make sure that it's absolutely capable of running all that. And that's not even going into the fact that if you don't use a TV, monitors can be just as expensive, right? So there's just no reason for it right now for the masses. However, if you're an enthusiast and you got the money, then you can absolutely be prepared early on for when it's ready. And that's kind of where it is. Because even look at some of these, at least one of the next gen consoles, right? Is that look at what the Series X has been touting, 8K ready. That does not mean that it will be at 8K when it comes out. However, it'll be capable to support certain things at 8K when that is the time that it comes around. But right now, it will not be doing. That is not their focus. It will just have the capability of being ready for that content when that content is there and ready. And I think that's what people need to understand when it comes to this, right?
So
one way I'd like to talk about that real quick. One aspect,
go ahead.
this whole 8K thing. That's much like the original Xbox when it had a few 1080i games. It's that real fringe. A couple of games, couple of titles will push that level of support. And if you notice, that they demoed this with the 3090. Shout out to Adam Sesser being one of the ones who was in front of the screen. Baby. G4 TV apparently coming back. Baby. Hopefully he's down with that.
He's the reason for that.
Yeah, that too. But he amongst others were demoing 8K gaming, and those were powered by a 3090. That's you got to have the tippity top, and you got to have one of these expensive ass displays to do this. And that's where we're at these early days. This is the type of thing where not even but Lemon had an HD TV in the early 2000s to rock the Xbox at 1080i, to see games hit that level. They were very rare. It was like maybe 5 or 6 games that did that, something.
And it was expensive.
It was expensive. It was expensive. And that's where it was an expensive thing. And that's where we're at now. But by the next generation, you expect that usual close to doubling of performance. Don't expect that next generation. Maybe a 20%, 25%. I'm calling that from now. But we'll get closer to 8K with features like DLSS. See, this is a thing that evolves over time. Maybe even the same hardware can get closer to 8K, but still treat it like a fringe thing. We may even get a little bit more than that. My Xbox example, but this is really fringe.
We ain't getting nothing
for it. Yeah, don't really expect it.
We ain't getting nothing. 8K ready is they're gonna be running some games with 8K textures, and Netflix is going 8K in about 2 more years. Yeah, that's what they're talking about. They're not
real
gaming.
Real
They're not talking about no gaming.
Yeah, one in a blue you might see.
It takes a 1,500 graphic card to start to even talk about. You think a $500 console gonna do that?
And
you'll probably some old game like Counter-Strike doing that.
What I'm saying.
That's why they didn't say 8. They said 8K ready. They didn't say nothing about gaming. 4K 120, 4K 60 frames is what they said.
So let's back up. Who is they? Were you talking about?
Microsoft.
Are you saying? Oh, Microsoft. Okay,
Yeah,
I just want to be clear.
8K ready, and then they said 4K gaming at 120 and 60. Why would you even say that if you didn't? If you wanted to say gaming, why would you separate the two? Because 8K ready is it will be able to stream an 8K Netflix program, no problem, because they're built on HDMI 2.1. We know this. 8K gaming ain't happening.
Not anytime soon. And that's
never. Let me tell you something.
Nope.
This the biggest thing.
Anytime soon.
I wouldn't buy. If you look into future proof, don't buy no 390. Because when 8K becomes a regular narrative, you don't want to have to spend $1,500. Trust me, in 2-3 more years, they'll have one for $500.
So,
now, it don't make sense to
Yeah,
think
yeah.
about 8K.
Yeah, it'll
So
be the
let me back
4070
up.
at this rate, you know.
Let me
that's
just
why-
ask a hypothetical. If I had 20K and I say I want to drop it on this, on anything I want, that includes the
On 8K
monitor.
rig. Okay.
You
Let me tell you
saying?
something. I'm gonna tell
Okay,
you
go ahead.
something. I already know where you're going. PK, there is no game made in 8K.
No,
There isn't one.
I understand. I'm asking to be devil's advocate. Obviously,
No,
you
I
know
know.
I
I
know
get what you're
this.
saying. If you had all the money in the world and you wanted to build 8K machine, you really not playing no 8K game. You playing a game. You just upping the resolution.
That is the point I'm trying to drive
Right.
home.
There is no game made in 8K. That's why when it was like, oh my God, you see that? You just raised the resolution. We've seen games get a visual improvement with raising the resolution. We also seen games that got bad textures and BS 2D trees. When you raise that resolution, it don't look that good. Ain't that the facts?
There's lots of
There is
games.
not
that do
one
that.
game on this planet that's in 8K. There isn't one, let alone 60 frames. Just on PC, everything is unlocked.
Well,
So they just
and
just
remember,
add the resolution. You could play what's name in 8K. You can raise your resolution in The Witcher 3. Go ahead.
hey, and what me and you have talked about this in the past before, Lemon. Remember, what did we say is right there that exists for 8K? The only thing out there right now that exists for 8K is only certain films because they are specifically shot with that red 8K camera, and then it is down
8K. The whole cinema series is 8K.
Yeah,
Black
but
Man
remember, what do we talk about? What do we say when we talk about that? Is that it's shot in 8K and downscale to
4K.
exactly.
And sometimes a 2K DI. So come on. This is not this.
Yeah, which erases both the 8K and 4K benefits right there once you take it to a 2K DI.
Right.
All gone.
The camera that I'm about to get, right? It shoots in 5K, 5.4K, but the video it outputs is 4K. You just downsampling from a higher cleaner stream.
So I got a question to ask you guys. What do you think, or do you think there will be a quote unquote faster version of the current foundation ones, or you think they just made them so good that there won't be like a super or a TI version?
First of all, they're not going to cut out their third-party partners. They're not going to do that. But you can overclock the hell out of these foundation ones. I usually wait for Asus Strix version because they come over.
Already been announced.
You ain't got to do nothing. But guess what?
Gigabytes, so they'll all have them.
You can overclock these founders cards with no problem. While we waiting?
No, I'm just asking.
No. I'm just saying, not with you, but I'm just saying, why wait now? Before you be like, oh, they're gonna release the founders card. It's gonna be just stuck at those numbers. These ain't stuck at those numbers. You can overclock them. So what's the difference between you overclocking it or waiting for the Asus Strix version to come out, or MSI, or Voltrox, which I would never buy? But what's the difference? And you're gonna spend an extra couple dollars because they're doing their version of the card.
Right.
Now
I got you.
I'm buying the founder card this time. I'm buying the founder card.
Okay.
It's all the right things.
So Sick, I need to ask you a question then, since Bloody 108 answered that one. What's up with this no SLI? Is SLI dead now? Is that buried and gone?
SLI dead. Okay, the 3090, like I say, isn't the replacement to the 2080 Ti. It's the replacement to a Titan RX. You know, the prosumer type of card. You know, more like a cut down Quadro. So you see NVLink there. You know, the last remnants of SLI in there, but otherwise, SLI is deader than dead. Shout out to J2 Cents once again for the third time. He's also said this in his video on the cards. SLI is dead.
Shout out to me for telling my boy Wetworks, what are you doing buying SLR?
You ain't the only one.
Yo, dude, everything don't run. See, this is why people, excuse me, PK, but people hear things and just like to regurgitate nonsense. Do you know most of the games and apps on PC, on Windows, do not run SLI? You got to cut one card off. Did you know that? A lot of people don't know that. And they think, yeah, I got 2 graphic cards. He bought 2 980s. And I said, yo, dude, you gonna have problems. What do you mean? I said, everything don't run in SLI, man. Yo, he was having split screen problems, hiccup problems, confrontations between both cards, running what you call it? Chrome. Like, yo, are you serious? Because it doesn't know to turn off one card. It doesn't know. You understand? And another thing, main thing we talking about, this AK and ray tracing and all these features, the developers still gotta support it.
True that.
Windows Phone got 2 screens. This other phone, the Z Flip and the Fold. For you to take advantage of those phones, you gotta have your apps working with 2 screens. If you're still working on one screen, what the hell are you spending $1,500 for? If the developer don't take advantage of your hardware. That goes for anything. SLI been sucked. Now, if you was running RAID, okay, but SLI, and you know the problems, most people, when they have a SLI problem, when they buy one of these PCs from Dell, my boy bought an Alienware, sick as my witness, I told him, do not buy that. You know what he tried to do? He tried to beat the Joneses. You can't beat me. I built right the first time. He ended up buying another graphic card and trying to sell 2. To go
and
back
at this point, it's not even about the brand because these chipsets and these motherboards are so tight. It was the video card point. He really shouldn't have done that.
I told him don't do that. Sick told him don't do that. But to be top of the food chain, I'm going to top out Lemon. Okay, good luck. And look what happened. Listen, when you get somebody sound advice, like I try to tell you, PK, some people just like bells and whistles. I don't need a car that can go 200 miles an hour, but I got on 4 donuts that only could do 60. That's just the facts. Yeah, my car go fast, but you can't reach it. You get what I'm saying?
Hey, Bloody, you got a comment on this SLI thing?
I mean, I'm kind of with them. Like, I saw, like, SLI hasn't been needed for a long while. Like, when SLI was trying to push itself when it came out, what, like a decade ago or anything like that, maybe even further back, it's because of the fact that we didn't have graphics cards that were demanding enough for trying to push a lot of what some computers are trying to do, right? But now we look at how much more improved these computers are, or especially these graphics cards alone. There's no need for something when you have a graphics card that is basically 2 to 3 graphics cards combined in one. You don't need to be running SLI.
No,
it doesn't make sense anymore.
Right.
And the biggest
it never did make sense, Bloody.
And the biggest thing,
well, I mean,
you know who tried to push that? Video card makers. Why?
Yeah,
they want to sell you
they want to sell more cards. Yeah.
The thing about
That's
SLI and AMD's equivalent crossfires that they generally just didn't work. See, had they actually worked, right? Actually worked. Well, let's say technical problems, we put that aside, right? Even then, they would price the video cards in such a way where you wouldn't take 2 2060s to outdo, a 2080 Ti. They would price it such that you could barely meet up to a 2080. The pricing was never even fair for that. But at least in that kind of world, if it actually worked, maybe SLI will be around right now. The main reason is it doesn't work because that's when you would expose everything else that's wrong with SLI.
And they try to blame the
price
connector.
And all the
we need to up the bandwidth for the connect. Listen, I was like, you ain't getting 2 card money out of me.
Yeah. If it worked, then maybe we'd say earlier that about AK-60 would it be viable? Because then with 23090s, I mean, the hell would do that? But at least it was.
And then they told you to mix and match to take just one half like a helper, so you would get a 1080 and then get a 980.
Yeah.
Really?
Right.
They was desperate. The manufacturers tried to pull a fast one. They caught a couple dummies, not all of us. That's what it is, man. It don't make sense.
When I was studying computers, you guys are a lot more. I was like, I'm tech knowledgeable, but y'all are more tech savvy, right? But even when I was first learning about this, I was like, yo, SLI sounds cool in theory.
In theory, right.
But everything that had been proven, it was not the way. Absolutely not the way.
But you know what, Bloody? I looked at a lot of my boys who was high-end gamers back in the days. They tried to do this. I seen all the problems they had. You know what I said? I don't want that work. I'm good. There's just too much work. And it can never get it. I ain't never seen nobody run that 100%. Not even once. So you know what I said? I'm gonna get this nice graphic card and this PC that my boy Sick helped me with, and I'm just gonna play my games. And I ain't had a problem ever since. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing that. I'm not chasing none of them numbers, man. I ain't chasing 8K. I ain't doing. You want to buy 8K monitor on PC? I don't even know if they got an 8K monitor out. I think Samsung was supposed to drop
I think
one.
there's something somewhere. I couldn't tell you, but I don't want to say no.
You barely can get 4K HDR 120 right now on at a reasonable price. We talking about 3 racks for a 27-inch monitor.
Yep.
Nah, man, that ain't financially. People don't want to buy a $3,000 high-end TV. Who wants to spend $3,000 on a 27-inch monitor?
That's why I said only people who got that money who are willing to do it.
Nah, I got it. I ain't doing it. That's dumb. I'm playing on 65 and better. You're bugging.
So let me ask Sick. Hey, so do you think because of these new cards that maybe VR will come into full play now?
Well, I can tell you with my 2070 Super that I got just a month or so ago, there was a big improvement in VR for me, such that now I'm chasing a higher resolution VR headset than I have. It made for a better VR experience than what I had before with my 1060, which was very smooth at the time, but it makes me want to seek higher resolution, higher quality, higher detail. So VR is in its own lane, slow, parallel lane. New headsets are still coming out, a couple of titles here and there, but they're not trying to push it whole hard like they do with other things that have failed, like 3D and whatnot, right? It's in that slow burn. So more horsepower is definitely going to help VR because it could use the horsepower. So VR will work hand in hand, but unfortunately with these new cards they took out that VR connector they had because none of the platforms really supported all those video cards switched to DisplayPort instead of HDMI. But I do have a HDMI VR headset, and I have to use this little adapter that uses the USB-C to get another HDMI plus the USB-C on the full-size USB for the headset, so it's both connectors and then tied into one. It's convenient. But that's one negative that I'm seeing, except for Asus. Their cards have
have converters though.
Yeah,
FYI.
Right. They have converters, but when they come to VR, there's an inherent lag with those, and they really don't work. But this is what I'm saying, right? That you would think it would work, but the lag in processing is just enough that it doesn't make it work. But thankfully, brands like Asus already showing, and this is what I had said in the URG chat earlier, that I'm going to buy an Asus brand because their cards are coming with 2 HDMI ports on their cards. So I've been a long time EVGA supporter. I bought 5 of their cards. One time I didn't buy one of their brands, and that was the brand whose card on the fan got stuck. So I'm not even gonna name the brand because it's actually a very good brand. So maybe it was just bad luck. But just goes to show I'm diehard loyal EVGA, and Asus is seen at similar esteem, and I'm switching to Asus, and I'll be happy because it's got the features in terms of hardware that I need for 2 HDMIs. So VR is definitely a thing. Better video cards are going to help to push that, especially with these higher end video cards, like the even higher end, but it's the mid range of 3070. But even that's high end to me because of the mass amounts of performance it provides.
Right.
Because of what it provides. So if you want to get into VR, now here's a cheaper card, and I'm sure the 3060 will be sufficient enough as well to do VR on a more of a budget than before. That's very important.
So what do you think, 108? What do you think about VR becoming more of a standard now that we have more power pushing out?
Well, only thing wrong with VR now, and it's only on PlayStation, is it don't look good. But VR on my Samsung, I put my Samsung Gear headsets on, looks fantastic. I played my PlayStation in VR, plays fine. I played Oculus, and I've also played the Vive. And you know, most of the things with VR is about graphics. On PC, it's not as bad as console, nowhere near, or like my cell phone. But you know, more power means more graphics, and it'll be able to render both eyes easily. So that's definitely a step in the right direction because I like VR. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm about to cop Vader Immortal on my PlayStation headset because that game is awesome. So, you know, I just
Does
need better
the
graphics.
so you think that VR needs the extra horsepower? Is what you're
Yes, it
saying?
needs it because it's running double the situation. It's running 90 hertz per eye at minimum. They got some that's doing 80, but they don't feel as fluid as you know the 90 hertz and better. You know what I'm saying? And it's the hertz that matter. You know, dudes are having problems pushing games at 30 frames, let alone doing it twice. That's how you got to look at it. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? It's just a tough, excuse me, it's just a tough power resource hog, and you need more power. You need it. You know,
And you have to do it quickly.
and I'm really, you know, even with the PlayStation 5, they haven't talked about their VR, but I'm really interested to see where they're gonna take it because they did a pretty decent job, but the visuals is horrible. They're washed out, they're bland. That Spider-Man demo is awesome, but it got tons of jaggies. You know what I'm saying? It's just the visual side. But you know, hopefully with PlayStation 5, they get the games looking better. And with these new graphic cards on the PC side, because you know, the only reason I didn't invest on the PC side because Oculus and Rift, they start dividing games up, amongst each other. That's like having two consoles. You know what I'm saying? Just with headsets. I was like, nah, I ain't investing over there. But at least you know if you buy a brand, if Microsoft decides to get in or Sony, you know everything that come out on that system you get to play. You know what I'm saying? So I went that route. But you know, I love the VR. I love, you know, the experience you get. You know what I'm saying? I really enjoy it. So and with the
I'm
power, it should be easier to do the graphics.
And for me, I'm not currently a VR owner, only because I didn't see. There's only quite a handful of games that look good to me to play,
Right.
but I was hoping that maybe now with this announcement and maybe even AMD's announcement going forward, that we will be able to push the VR realm into a direction where it will be more of a staple than it is just a gimmick, or at least it feels like a gimmick. What do you think there, Bloody? You haven't commented on this.
I mean, I'm with in the same camp as Lemon on this. Is that VR has been kind of a gimmick because you look at the most successful VR, it's PlayStation VR. You know, Oculus be a fair point in, but they're still got to have a fairly decent rig to support it. Vive is obviously the high end that supports, and you see kind of how expensive it is for their headset alone, not including the controllers to really push some of the content that are out there. And then you, as he said, you have to really have a lot of developers that are able to push high-end graphics within or high-end resolutions on some of these headsets by splitting the image into twice. And it's just not something that's been really well done. It's always been kind of a gimmick, as is a lot of things. Now it's becoming slowly more viable with the power and hardware that's out there, but it's still something that it's still going to be hard to really get into to the masses just because of the cost of getting into VR. PlayStation VR is the only thing right now that is a viable, cheap option to get into VR. But even then, there's still not that killer software that absolutely says, yo, this is what demands a VR, or this is why I need a VR. There's a lot of games out there that kind of play with some things, and that there's definitely some interesting concepts, and there are some good games, but there's not the one that absolutely says, yo, this is what VR is meant for. This is why you need to get one.
This
You
one
know,
game.
the Half-Life Alex is one
No,
everyone talks
no.
about. I said everyone talked about. Calm down there, sir. I'm not talking
No,
about
but I'm saying
review.
like there's one game that just is the best. Resident Evil 7.
Indeed, for a
That's what-
game experience,
listen.
yes,
For a
yes.
game experience. No, that's a game experience. I said built for VR. That's
Yeah,
what I
it's
said.
built
that was
for
built for
VR. The experience is there. That's
You
like
still
the
you
VR
still play
game.
you still play
yeah.
the game. You still play the game with the controller. What I'm saying is
Oh,
like
oh,
every
oh, yeah,
aspect,
yeah,
the
yeah.
entirety of it all is built specifically for VR.
But everything on
So-
VR is not about using those controllers either.
So
Some
wait-
of them
wait,
games
wait,
like
wait,
the
And that's
controller.
guys.
my
Controller.
point is
It's
that
versatile.
there is not been those kind of big sellers or big draws that says, yo, this is what VR was meant to be for. Like I said, the one that everyone is touting is that Half-Life Alyx because of what Valve did and built that game from the ground up, focused on VR.
Yeah, I played it. It ain't really that good.
So let me just say this. I think also
really not that
that
good.
what we haven't talked about is I also think the headsets need a hardware refresh to keep up with the new technology in
No.
these cards.
Not at all.
Oh no, they don't at all.
Not at all.
There's new headsets all the time. In fact,
Yo, listen.
HP is coming up with a really new one, the G2, and it's going to be the highest res one out, and it's a Windows
Listen,
mixed reality
Out of
headset.
Steel
They
series on
come out all the
PC,
time.
you don't have nothing to worry about. Because
You
these,
sure?
yo, listen, son. Let me tell you something. A lot of these companies that's making headsets, they make trash. They not making quality, son. I don't want to hear about no goddamn Turtle Beast. That's for kids. You
Right?
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Buy the high end stuff, and you know you got to spend the money, $250 and better. That's not what everybody's
Spend
doing.
once and you spend right. Yeah.
They're trying to go into GameStop and spend $100, and they want $500 worth of sound. They got plenty of headsets that's overpowering PCs and consoles. Dudes don't spend the money. They're already out there. What
I
they
see.
need to do is up the ante on these codecs coming out of these consoles and PCs. Like my last motherboard, I had the MSI X99 7 series, right? It had a dedicated 7.1 USB channel on the motherboard. You know how rare that was when I bought that? And guess how many 7.1 headphones came out? About 10. Guess how many I own? 0. Because it was all like $500 or $600. But yeah, they have them. You just gotta want to fork that bread out. See, I don't pay on PC like that, so I'm not giving up that money just to say, yeah, I got it. You know what I'm saying? But they out there.
Okay, that's a fair point. And you know, I'm not as familiar with the VR as you are because I'm not adopter as of yet into that realm.
If you got a homeboy that got VR, play Vader Immortal. Well, I'm not gonna say it. I played it on the Quest, right? The wireless Oculus.
Mm-hmm.
We at E3. 100 was absolutely against VR. Me, him, and Megatron standing on line. I said, listen, when you play this game, it's gonna change your life. Nah, man. Yeah, I don't do that, man. VR sucks. Da-da-da-da-da. He talked to us for about an hour how much VR was garbage. Who was the first person to buy that VR headset? He ordered it as soon as we got back to his house. It was back ordered. That's somebody completely in the opposite direction of VR got that experience. What you be seeing him be going out? You don't see his son walking around bumping into stuff, playing this stupid thing. Yeah, it's awesome. VR is very interactive. Every game is not good. That's like saying every game on console good. That's not true either. But they got some hitters. They don't got that one game, which it is Resident Evil, but they don't got that one game that's gonna do a Fortnite. You understand? They don't got nothing like that. But who really gets a Fortnite every generation? That's a rare situation. Or PUBG. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
No, that's not something that's common. But they got some good damn titles. I'm serious. But
yeah, and now with the
depends what you
horsepower
wanna
out
invest
there,
in.
it's more spread out. So the horsepower of your rig is less of an issue now, or will be. It continues to be because now it's getting past the line of the minimum of what you need.
Yeah,
Past
even my
that minimum,
laptop I bought last year is VR ready.
Yeah, VR ready and laptops.
It's VR ready.
For a while
Easily.
now too. Yep.
Yeah, so with the, like I said, and you really need the graphic side. I don't think there's ever going to be one game to push everybody to VR because some dudes can't handle it. Some dudes get motion sickness. Dudes are throwing up. Some people having seizures. It's like is roller coasters for everybody? No, they're not. Some people want to be on the Ferris wheel. Stick to your ass to the Ferris wheel. Don't get on that roller coaster at Great Adventure. Good luck. Everything's not for everybody, but it's awesome. The experience is awesome. And if you haven't tried a PK, man, listen, I'm telling you, I don't have a bunch of VR games. Play Beat Saber one time. You're buying it.
I watch Beat Saber. It does look
I
fun.
love Beat Saber, my guy. Awesome. So that's another. But that Beat Saber is a big seller on VR. So that could
Yeah,
be
it
considered
does
one
look
of them
good.
games. That game is awesome.
But it doesn't need, you don't need graphics for that one.
No,
Though.
you don't. But it's fun. And when you're playing it, you are in the game. You're in the game. There's no maybes. You know, I got some
Right.
the Spider-Man, I tell you, looks horrible. But when you swing around that city and you're doing that demo for 1 and 2 on PlayStation, it looks horrible. You still get that when you look over that building over the edge, like you're gonna fall. You know, there's no game that you hold it in your controller on your regular TV make you feel like that. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying.
No, I
Yeah,
got
as a
you.
dude who's actually afraid of heights, one of the the Oculus Rift demos that they have, where I think you're on top of a building. When you first launch it, you're on the top of a building. Imagine Batman 1989, you know, one of those tall buildings. At the very end, when Batman is standing on top
Right.
of that wide, big building,
Gotham.
you start on a height from that level at night, and you can look down. And I get that same terror and feel. And I was in a basement.
I'm scared of heights too. I don't do that
knew
in
where I
Spider-Man,
was
so.
mentally, physically. I knew where I was, and it still triggers that
Yup.
fear in you.
Yup.
That's how real it is.
Anybody,
it's not a
you know,
big deal.
like I said,
I
man,
mean,
you
it's a big
can't
deal.
knock it till you try it. Not that anybody on this panel is knocking anything, but I'm just saying, like, I seen the biggest naysayer last year convert real quick. Yo, he was like, yo, that was amazing. I said, uh-huh. Vader Immortal changed his life. And it sound incredible. It sound like a Star Wars movie. Crazy. But anyway, my bad.
No, you're good. So I think we hit a lot of the highlights of the whole presentation today and our thoughts on how this is going to impact gaming moving forward. So I figured that since we're hitting our hour here, I wanted to get everyone's final thoughts before we wrap up on this new Ampere technology. And I'll start with Sick and then go on over.
You know, I've been expecting that. Like I said, I've been following real close to the the progress, all the news and rumors that were coming out. And most rumors, more recently in recent weeks, were pretty accurate to what was actually released, except for this performance. The performance is the greatest leap Nvidia has ever had. That's nothing they've ever marked.
That is facts.
Now we don't know exactly frame rates, but within performance numbers we've seen.
On paper,
relative
on paper, right.
on paper, but relative to things that we've seen from Digital Foundry, where the 20 series was the baseline at 100%, and we're usually seeing these new cars at like 180%, 160, as close as 199, 200% sometimes in relative performance. That's 80%. That's almost double performance. So major performance, but they've leveraged it to do other things, little software features. As streamers, we find function and utility in the features that they're adding as well. And AMD has I've also followed AMD and then ATI previously for a long time as well. They have never had a bigger mountain to climb. So I think computer stop. I believe that AMD. Well, I never expected that their cars would have been able to competitively match performance-wise, but now to even be competitive, they're going to have to drop their prices very, very, very low. And this might be at a point where it's bad for AMD, really bad for AMD, but will be good for us as consumers. But if AMD is not able to weather that storm, which I believe they can with their CPU sales doing so well, that they can weather that storm for now, and that will be great for us as a consumer because it'll drive prices down, because AMD also has these similar features, like the RTX IO that we haven't spoken about that Nvidia has. AMD has been working on similar technology for a long time, where the RAM is being used, the video RAM is being used as RAM, and it's higher speed direct access, from the SSD straight to that GPU RAM, which is very plentiful and fast. AMD has features like that as well that they've long since been talking about. So, like I said earlier, we're at a new line in the sand where if you're not past this line in terms of at least minimums, you're not going to be able to enjoy the latest and greatest games that are going to be coming out next generation on both console and PC.
Okay. And what about you, Bloody? What's your final thoughts on this?
For me, it comes down to just kind of this is really just going to push everything in a whole different ball game. You know, we saw as sick and as we've seen is that just the leap in the capabilities power wise from everything that they've shown off, it's absolutely going to be a massive game changer because we've all talked about this, but we've hit the point where there's not that technology has slowed down and the capabilities and how great of leaps we're able to make. Coming from where everything was in the 80s to now, we took massive strides in such short time because of the advancement of technology. But over the last decade or so, everything has kind of stagnated or slowed down in the kind of leaps that we were able to make. And what they did with this, with how they're able to process graphic graphic processing power and how they're able to utilize the RAM directly on the GPU. As they said that now it's no longer having to be split between the memory on the GPU and then having to go through the core system's RAM as well. Now it is able to draw all of that memory directly loaded from the GPU to help offload the memory that or help to offload the stress from having to take from two different sources. So it allows it to be a lot more flexible with how much it's able to decompress and how much of those textures it's able to load in while it's reading that information directly from the SSDs that we're starting to see now for these next gen from the M.2s and even other internal SATA SSDs and everything else. It's just completely changing how everything's going to run. As for what AMD does next, that's still to be seen. Sick brought up a lot of good points. I can't comment too much on that, but I definitely think that where we are going now forward with these graphics, with these graphical manufacturers between AMD and NVIDIA, things are definitely going to be a change. It has to.
Gotcha. 108.
I'm
Where
listening.
you at? Where you at, big homie? I'm
I'm
trying
here,
to get
bro.
your last. I'm
I
trying
thought
to
you
get
were
your
gonna say
last
something. You
thoughts.
said one away. I was going to say something else. So I just shut up.
Nah, I'm waiting on your final thoughts on it, bro.
Final thoughts, man. You know, I'm a tech guru, man. I love where it's moving. Um, just the ideas of giving developers more tools that they can create better looking games for us is definitely the bonus for me. Um, I never put AMD against Nvidia because they don't even have their highest graphic card is coming out on the Xbox One X. So they're not even in the same category in terms of Nvidia. Nvidia leads the CPU market in terms of GPU, and AMD leads the market in terms of financially available GPUs. You know what I'm saying? Very capable for the price they give you, but they don't even have one GPU that's 10 teraflops. They don't have nothing to compete with Nvidia, and I expect nothing else again. You know what I'm saying? They most powerful GPU, like I said, is in the Xbox One X. And listen, Nvidia can't get into the console market. Well, they are with the Switch, but we see how that working out in terms of power. But and then AMD can't break into the PC market. They got to stay in that budget range and do what works for them. Don't chase Nvidia. Like I tell people about DC, don't chase Marvel numbers. It's too high of a mountain. Chase your own numbers. Make what's better for you, and you'll get more of them. You'll get a lot of the masses because you got cards that's financially that people can reach. You know what I'm saying? They really stay in the realm that we can make a bang for buck. So I don't really think it's a competition between the two. I think they reach it. They both aim at different markets, even though at every show, Nvidia always has a 50 and a 60 series. They never show them, but then they just drop. You know, it's because they have them. But they talk about they three big dogs. You know what I'm saying? So it's just good to see the technology moving forward and knowing that, you know, we be able to get the bells and the whistles with these games coming out. You know, I'm almost tempted to get double dip on CD Projekt Red's game, man, Cyberpunk 2077, because I'm stoked to see what that's going to even look like with ray tracing. You know, Bloody brought up the note, and I was going to say it before he said it, but he said it. But Minecraft. You see what ray tracing does to that pixelated looking game? Intentionally pixelated looking game. But do you see what ray tracing adds to that? So it's the next evolution, man. It's just good all around for the tech heads, man. And it's good that it gave us a conversation to talk about and discuss tonight. You know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
you know, that's what I'm with, man. Just straight information and good gaming news, man. And that's what I'm talking about, man. I'm excited. Wasn't looking forward to upgrading no graphic card. Shit kept telling me about some 3000 series. I was like, I ain't upgrading nothing. And then I watched the press conference when he sent me the link. 3080 is in my future. Facts.
Nice. So, you know, I would say my final thoughts and how I feel. I am super excited for the push in technology. I'm not going to put AMD versus NVIDIA, though I don't believe AMD is a company that's just going to put out nothing. They're definitely going to try and win whatever base they're winning at. So I won't just put them down and say they surprised us with Ryzen. They can definitely surprise us with whatever their big Navi looks like. I have no idea, but we'll see when that time comes. As of right now, I'm totally happy with what NVIDIA's presentation, and they're super proud of the work that they did, and I think they should be. And everyone should definitely, anyone that's looking to build a PC soon, should definitely look at the 3070 because that is probably the best value for the buck. You can't do better. It's really impressive that they were able to. It's not a 2080 Ti. It's actually faster than a 2080 Ti.
I don't think it has more compute units though.
It doesn't matter. It's more efficient at what it does per watt, and that is the point. That it can actually put more pixels on the screen and more efficiently than a 2080 Ti.
It's just like the Xbox Series X versus the PS5. Even though it doesn't have the clocks, it still outperforms it by far.
Oh, no doubt.
Yes, so it's definitely something you should not sleep on. It's impressive that they were able to get it at the price that they're getting it at. Considering the last couple years, the 2080 Ti was the most expensive card. So yes, I think this is great for us as a gamers. I think we're all winning. And like I said, competition creates innovation. So now that AMD still has to compete, don't think that they won't come out with a competitive card. It may not be a 3090, but it may be competitive at a 3080, which is still impressive. And we definitely will all benefit from that, especially if it's cheaper.
I would say that and agree, but they always go for that.
We can't look at the past. We got to look at the future, right? This is the future.
Gotta go by their track record.
Okay, let's back up.
Give them more credit than what they do.
I've heard
all
this
I'm saying
times.
is, Sick and I go back and forth, but I'm just going to put out here that you got to remember the RTX series was not a huge leap over the GTX series. It was not. It was 30%.
That's why I got my 1080 Ti, bro.
It was only a 30% leap, but this one is a different.
Well, it doesn't happen every time, and like I said, I already predict that the next card, the 4000 series, won't do that, but it happens that way. You know, that's the way it is.
Changer.
Yeah, this is definitely different.
So skip the year after you buy your phone, you skip your year, you skip the next year, right? And then you buy it in the third year, and then you get a real upgrade. You never buy the phone the next year. That's a fact.
No, I agree with you. I'm just saying my thoughts, though. I strongly believe that competition will create innovation, and I won't count AMD out. I mean, they created a monster in their Ryzen
they really need
series.
To be able
so
to make the new minimum be at a higher level.
Yeah,
you know,
I
VR everything. So your questions about VR, you might be able to find a better product for cheaper at AMD if you're trying to get VR on the cheap. You know,
I'm gonna tell you, being that I just upgraded my laptop,
folks.
My PC this week, the same graphic card. The same motherboard I bought, but for AMD was $140 cheaper.
Yeah. So
You know what I'm
and
saying?
then
They can always get their foot in the door. But
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I'm just
I
saying in
don't think
general,
that on the phone. No, I don't disagree with you, but I'm saying like you always get bang for buck with them. But if you start somebody build a high-end Intel and get the best RAM and best motherboard, then they don't have those parts. They don't have them. They just don't have it, son. Because they don't design,
At
they
any
don't make it
price. At any price.
at any price. They really don't. But we'll see. And I don't,
Yeah.
you know, like I said, a console really shouldn't be your best graphic card.
and that's why I don't believe that's where it stops. Right.
No, it should stop there. I think they motivated, but then you
Yeah.
got to look at it like, are they gonna get their return money back? Do they want to invest? You understand? Because they don't run the PC market at
And
all.
it's going to be the biggest mountain that they've had to climb ever because Nvidia just took their biggest leap ever. So it's even tougher for them than it ever has been before in the past. This is the biggest hurdle that they've ever had to face.
I'm excited to see what they bring though.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm excited.
So that's the point. Is we want them to win because we win.
Right,
The
right,
better
right.
they do, the better. Because if Nvidia doesn't have a challenge, they'll get lazy.
Oh yeah.
And
So
more
they-
expensive.
See that in
Yep.
games and everything. Madden
So-
keeps repeating the same thing. 2K keeps repeating the same thing because there's nobody challenging those games.
Yes.
If they had competition, they would batten down and try to, what can we do to do better? Oh no, we're gonna do the same thing, give it a visual upgrade, and we're gonna charge mad VC.
And not only that, AMD may have even served that purpose already because there's been a lot of rumors, like I said, been following the rumors that Nvidia took the early rumors about Big Navi seriously and they doubled down. And you could see that evidence. If you believe that line, you could see that evidence in the amount of power these cards are using, how high they clock. I don't think there's going to be very high overclock models. You definitely won't see no super models, but you might see enhanced models next year on a further die shrink. But the chips they have now that they're producing now, you're not going to see super overclocked versions because I think these cards are already being pushed to a much higher degree than normal.
Oh, they are.
To be sure that that they dominated this well. So I think AMD already served that purpose already. Like I said, once again, this bears repeating. This is the biggest leap Nvidia has ever had, generation to generation, and there's a reason for that. And it may just be AMD.
Right. So we're gonna wrap this up and get on out of here. We done beat this horse to death. Sick, where can they find you at?
Well, you can find me everywhere great games are played. You can find me on Twitter, SixLayer, and you can find all four of us on GRG every Friday night, 9:30 Eastern. Come check us out.
All right, Bloody. Bloody, are you there, buddy?
Of course, I'm here.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for coming, by the way. And could you tell the people where they can find you?
Man, they can find me all over on Twitter. They can find me on Instagram. They can find me on Facebook Gaming, as well as on Twitch, where I stream 4 times a week, all at Bloody Nuts, one word. And they can also find me on my channel over on YouTube and Twitch, where I host the Smash Podcast every Saturday, as well as on GRG every Friday with you guys.
All right. What about you, 108, Mr. Dragon's Den?
Yeah, you can find me with these guys anytime they invite me. Shout out to the panel, PK, Bloody, and my boy SixLayer. It was a pleasure doing this with y'all. And you can find me, like they said, at GLG on Fridays, man, and on my channel, which thank God I'm back working. My 2 computers went down in 1 week. That was crazy. That was crazy. But yeah, you can find me on 108 Dragons TV at every social media and YouTube, which is the main focus. And that's what it is. Thank y'all for coming through, man. I appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. And listen, before I get out, I'm going to remind you guys, I do have their channels linked on mine. You can just click on the channel page and you can find these guys on their channels. If you don't remember, just hit that link. And I appreciate you guys coming through, and we're going to keep this train moving. You guys have a good one. We out.
Peace.